Took about 2 years to build, and it's built to last for a very long time. This is meant to be your way out if the power fails, if there is no lights, so you find your way out of the vault. So the seed deposit works like with any bank and a safe deposit storage in the basement of the bank. You bring your own seeds. You, as a depositing institution, you own them and you keep them, and only you can determine what happens with them. This is the main door to the active vault, one of the 3 vaults that we have. It's all frozen up because inside it's minus 18 Celsius year-round. And this is typically the place everyone wants to have a picture taken. This is world agriculture behind that door. Everything you're going to need for the world to survive in terms of agriculture is safely kept here for the future. We have 860,000 types of crops. Each probe has 100 to 1,000 corns. So if you look at the number of individual grains in here, it could be close to 1 billion.
My nose is going to fall off already.
You need to keep warm here with everything that you can. And when you go inside, it gets colder because of the draft of the AC. You could go back to Svalbard and recreate agriculture in the world, which I find an amazing concept.
In the event of a cataclysmic occurrence, this would stay and preserve these seeds for how long?
We have minus 18 Celsius in here. It would go up to minus 8, minus 7 after a few years. But then even at that temperature, most of the seeds can stay for many, many years. 10, 20, 30 years time. So you have a lot of time to think about what to do, even if power fails here and doesn't get restored. It's a safe place.
It is truly remarkable and such a unique experience. The general population doesn't have access to this vault, and we're among the few who have actually been inside. And as Michael said, it really does make you pause and think about how what is being done here is really helping to safeguard our future.
As I've already said, the greatest threat before the pole shift is the meteorites. What is the point of building a deep underground bunker if the planet gets whacked by a massive meteorite, similar to what happened to the dinosaurs, which was another time Nibiru got too close? Thus, NASA have been put in charge of space defense against the really big asteroids. They have come up with the OSIRIS-REx, which will blast off from Florida in September 2016. It is set to go into orbit around the Earth. Even though they claim they are sending it to an asteroid dubbed Bennu, this is just a cover story. OSIRIS-REx is designed to take out the really big asteroids that were dragged here by Nibiru and get too close to Earth. They can range from Mount Everest size to house size. So basically they're what we call an extinction level event size asteroid. But what about the smaller ones that get past OSIRIS-REx? Well, once again, NASA is on the job. As a last defense from the threat of asteroids striking the Earth, scientists are preparing to test high-energy lasers to blast rocks to vapor. Experts based at California's Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory will power up strong energy beams to see if they can destroy the asteroids. Initial testing has been successful. They were able to blast meteorites on the ground and reduce them to dust. LLNL's Megan Bruck-Sile said, "It's not a matter of if, but when an asteroid strikes. Our challenge is to figure out how to avert disaster before it happens." NASA's attempt to take out the main asteroids is admirable, and I feel it will actually benefit us greatly. However, they even admit they can't get all of them. To survive a meteor strike from a basketball-sized block of iron travelling at terminal velocity from space is like trying to protect yourself from a direct nuclear strike. You would have to still be at least 2 to 2.5 kilometres or 1.5 miles underground to have any chance of survival from a direct hit. What is really important is that you need to be as far away from the cities as possible before the meteorites really start to pile in. Like I said, it will be like an artillery bombardment, so roads may be destroyed. People panic and all food in the shopping centres will be cleaned out within 3 to 4 hours. Most people only keep 3 days worth of food in their house. So like it or not, there will be panic, then rioting for food. Eventually, bands of hungry, scared and angry people will go door to door in search of food, and they will not care who they kill to get it. So like I said, you need to be as far away from this as possible, as it could go on for at least a month. When the pole shift and global floods come, the geological forces could crush a bunker like a soda can. If you push a can on the ends, it's hard to squash it, but if you squeeze it from the sides, it's really easy. So, if the bunker is constructed in the correct way facing the right way, then it should survive, but if not, it'll just be flooded and crushed. One thing I know about the elites is that they leave nothing to chance. But something tells me they may be going to their graves when they enter those bunkers. They actually believe that they will survive. They think they will surface, act like saviours and rescue any surface survivors. They will offer you food, water and shelter. In return, you must pledge your dying loyalty to them and work in the new fields to produce food for your new lords. It will be back to feudalism. But the universe has other plans. The whole reason why this is happening is to wipe the slate clean. Humans, particularly those that put themselves above everyone else, have created such a negative vibration that the earth has to shake itself clean. Society is now so corrupt, so debased, and so deplorable that the only way to fix it now is to reboot and start again. It has happened on at least 5 other occasions where 99% of all life was wiped out, but the earth always comes back and life will thrive again. It is for this reason that I believe the old world elite class will not make it. Perhaps many will go off the planet in spaceships and stay there, or colonise Mars. Maybe all the ones that stay on Earth will die. I'm not sure. None of the maps of today will be reliant after the pole shift. All of the continents will be in new positions and many countries will be gone altogether. However, some new lands will rise. In the Northern Hemisphere, there will be a mini ice age for at least 20 to 25 years. According to Mother Shipton's prophecy, it is at this point that some extraterrestrial friends will land and give a hand. They will supply the humans with free energy technology, new medical technology, new engineering, spiritual knowledge. At this point, all of the children will be born with the second sight, or psychic ability. This will harken the new golden age, possibly around 2060 plus or minus 10 years. If you can't get a ticket into the elite's bunkers and you don't have access to a rocket ship to get you off the planet, then there are a few other things we can do. From a purely practical and material standpoint, I present my invention, the ZAV-2. I personally think the only way to survive a pole shift on the physical plane is to be in a semi-submersible, a new ark as such. It worked for Zayasudra, who was later turned into Noah, and it worked in the people in the movie 2012. A semi-submersible is something that can be tossed around like a cork, be completely submerged at times, and be self-righting to always surface the right way up. You would need to store food, water and seeds, maybe even some chickens, goats, pigs and a sheep or two. I think it would be several months before you could make landfall. Look, I'm not an engineer, I'm not a boat builder, but I have done a lot of sailing in my time. So I came up with a design I believe would work, but I neither have the money nor the technical know-how to build it. But I hope by presenting it, someone out there does and will be able to make it and save their friends and family. It could hold about 48 people plus supplies. I call it the Zayasudra Ark version 2, or ZAV-2 for short. It's around 24 metres long and 4 metres high, 6 metres wide. It's oval shape, which is strong and can roll in the water as need be, and it's least resistant to water. The outside skin is hardened steel and iron plate like a submarine. The inner core is made of aluminium, or aluminum as you say in America. It's got ribbing inside like you would see in a milk tanker, and it's gimbaled. Gimbaled just means it'll always stay horizontal, the right way up. So it swings inside. So while the outside's being tossed around like a cork, the inside will always stay the right way up. It also allows extra protection, because if the outside hull is damaged, you're still inside the capsule inside and you won't drown. And for that reason I would build it in two separate modules, the outer and the inner, and then bring them together. It has a mast and a keel that can be raised or lowered. It has a small electric motor for when the water is calm to get you around. The sail could also be covered in flexible solar panels. The solar panels would create electricity for the boat's lighting, refrigeration, water pumps, for showers, motors, lots of things. There is room for 48 bunks, but you could scale this design up or down to increase or decrease the amount of people on board. It would use composting toilets and recycled water showers with technology that's already available today. It could store enough food and water for 3 months or so. It could also carry chickens, goats, plus seeds, hand farming equipment, fishing gear, nets and basic building tools. You could even make room for a couple of those 4x4 off-road quad bikes or some trail bikes or kayaks, for later exploration. You can download a PDF version of my drawings from the link in the description, and I would appreciate a small donation. The ZAV-2 is great to save non-spiritual people, and let's face it, that's most of the world. Have you seen the movie Knowing from 2009 with Nicolas Cage? In that movie, there is a sudden extinction level event and some strange alien species come to Earth to save some children who they hope will restart humanity. Like many of those kind of movies, there is some truth in it. The Pleiadians told me that they will be calling certain children between the ages of 6 and 10 years old equal boys and girls. These are old soul children who will intuitively be able to pick up the signal. They will be directed to a location, and from there they will be picked up and taken off-world. They hope to collect around 2,600 of these children from every race and country on the planet. No adults will be taken. I realise how difficult it will be for parents to let their children go, and that is why many of the parents will actually die leading up to the pole shift. I know this sounds cold and callous, but it is a reality we now have to deal with. Plus, those parents' souls already chose this before they came here. As for the adults, the Pleiadians have another plan. Like the children, adults that can quieten their mind and tune in will be directed to safe havens all over the planet. Once in position, the people will need to unite in consciousness and send out a beacon. Think of it like a beam of light. This is how the Pleiadians on the fourth dimension will find you. They will create a bubble around you that is in fact part of the fourth dimension. By raising the vibration around you, they in effect create a small bubble that is vibrating higher than that of the third dimension around it. That means that whatever is happening on the third dimension, you will not even be aware of it. In effect, you will no longer be on the third dimension. You would just appear like a ghost. So nothing can harm you. Fairies, divas, and many aliens have been using this technique for centuries to hide from people. Once everything has calmed down, the bubble is lowered and you will be back on the third dimension. There will be devastation all around except for the area the bubble covered. This will be pristine. This was the scene I was shown of the people living happy in the lush and fertile hills. The final option is the best one, but now also the hardest for most people. That, of course, is full ascension. If you fully ascend, that means transforming your body into a light body and raising your vibration to the 5th dimension. I will create a separate video to cover this, but be aware it is not easy and maybe only 1 in 500 people will be able to succeed. Anyway, let's look at the final part of this series. In the next video, we'll cover solutions. Since the 2012 rejection of mass ascension, humans have embraced the fear vibration. This created the threefold return, or 3 scenarios that are a direct result from people's unconscious choices. One or all of these scenarios will occur. Humanity still can change the outcome, but it is very unlikely now.
Well, the question was, if Iran were to launch a nuclear attack on Israel, what would our response be? And I want the Iranians to know that if I'm the president, we will attack Iran. And I want them to understand that, because it does mean that they have to look very carefully at their society. Because whatever stage of development they might be in their nuclear weapons program in the next 10 years, during which they might foolishly consider launching an attack on Israel, we would be able to totally obliterate them. That's a terrible thing to say, but those people who run Iran need to understand that, because that perhaps will deter them from doing something that would be reckless, foolish, and tragic.
Scenario 1, World War III. Hillary Clinton is quite possibly the most corrupt and evil person to ever run for President of the United States. Previous title holders were Lyndon B. Johnson, the man that quarterbacked the JFK assassination, and Dick Cheney, the man that quarterbacked 9/11. But these guys look like Boy Scouts compared to what Hillary has in mind. Anyway, if Hillary gets elected, then she will start World War III, no question about it. The system of bankers and global interests she works for want World War III. War is a banker's dream. They make a lot of money no matter who wins. These people are hardcore psychopaths. They have no empathy for any other human except their own family, and even then, some of them get killed if they don't play ball. Read my second book for the whole story, and it will shock you. They want a war with Russia and China. And for the last 12 months, they have been doing everything they can to provoke those countries. They need Russia or China to shoot first. That way, they can justify a world war, and the sheeple will support it. But if those countries won't come to the party, they have armed and trained North Korea with a nuclear weapon as Plan B. If Russia or China don't fire first, they will get North Korea to do it in a false flag nuclear attack, or maybe a dirty bomb attack, on a major US city. They hope that the loss of hundreds of thousands of American lives will spur that nation and its allies into full-blown world war. Again, as I point out in my second book, they want to fulfill the playbook of their guru, Albert Pike, who was a 33-degree Freemason, a Satanist, and founding member of the Ku Klux Klan. Pike spoke how they will create 3 world wars, The first and second were exactly as he said that they would be, so there is no reason to doubt that the third will follow his game plan. After 10 years or so of this total world war, the people will grow weary. So when that time comes, the New World Order people will hold secret meetings with their enemy, China. They will promise China a backdoor deal to end the war. But to do so, China must stab their ally Russia in the back. In exchange, there will be an armistice. China will be given complete control of the Asia-Pacific, including Australia, Japan, and New Zealand. Russia will be obliterated, fulfilling Nathan Rothschild's wish. The New World Order will control the rest of the world. All countries will live under a communist regime most resembling neo-feudalism. That is, a world of the very wealthy and the very poor, no middle class. The only reason why this has not already happened is because of one man, Vladimir Putin. Regardless of what you think you know about Putin, he is humanity's only hope of avoiding World War III and defeating the Illuminati New World Order. That is why the mainstream media are demonizing him. Trust me, when the media turn on someone, it is usually to turn public opinion against them, because that person represents a threat to the establishment. Now, here is the big curveball. Mr. Obama does not want to give up his cushy life in the White House. So he may use a false flag or the upcoming earth changes to suspend the elections indefinitely. So chances are there will not even be an election in 2016, and Obama will be America's last president, and that is not set in stone just yet. But for the record, Obama is a card-carrying, die-in-the-wall communist. He honestly believes he would make a great, benevolent dictator. Read the book Animal Farm to see how that works out. Scenario 2. Islamic Caliphate. On the 13th of May 1981, there was an assassination attempt on Pope John Paul II in St. Peter's Square at Vatican City. The Pope was shot and wounded by a Turkish hitman, Mehmet Ali Akkar. The Pope was struck 4 times and suffered severe blood loss. Akkar was apprehended immediately and later sentenced to life in prison by an Italian court. The Pope later forgave him for the assassination attempt. He was pardoned then by President Carlo Ciampi at the Pope's request and was deported to Turkey in June 2000. Akkar published his autobiography in Italy in 2013. His book is called I Was Promised Paradise. He claims that he worked for an Islamic black magic cult called the Grey Wolves. The Grey Wolves invoke jinns, otherwise known as demons. That group has since morphed into ISIS. They have a prophecy that their Messiah, the Mahdi, will bring about the destruction of the West and Christianity. In fact, Akkar says in his book, basically, it's really as if the world finishes in favour of a new era. Go into any mosque around the world, listen to what they say about the return of the Mahdi. They all say the same thing. Soon, very soon indeed, he is arriving. What does this mean? That a part of Islam is sharpening their weapons. The return of the Mahdi will bring bloodshed. If the Mahdi will not manifest himself, their will materialize him. And in short, the Islamic fundamentalist will set fire to the whole Western world. So basically, this band of evil men hope to use black magic to invoke a powerful dark entity that they call the Mahdi. On the date 13 May 2017, the Islamicists plan to unleash hell onto the Western world. That is why they have been slowly positioning their people into every Western country on the planet. The refugee crisis in Europe is the last stage of positioning the chess pieces. It is their specific intention to destroy the Vatican in Rome. Pope John Paul II strongly believed that this was the third prophecy of Fatima. The prophecy of Fatima was given to the world on May 13, 1917. The first two prophecies were released almost immediately. However, the third prophecy was supposed to be released to the world in the 1960s, but for some reason it was kept sealed. On May 13, 1981, on the anniversary of the original prophecy of Fatima, Pope John Paul II was en route to St. Peter's Square to deliver the third and final prophecy. He was adamant that the people deserved to know what it contained. Before he could reveal the prophecy, however, he was shot down by Muhammad Ali Adkar. The Grey Wolves, now ISIS, did not want their plans revealed to the world. The third prophecy of Fatima contains their plans to destroy the Vatican and the Western world, and they want to do it on a special date of May 13, 2017. Many of the Vatican cardinals have secretly converted to Islam in hope to save their skins when the time of destruction comes. They want to be part of the New World Order One Religion. A new Vatican II is under construction. It is called the Temple of the Work of the Holy Spirit, and it is located in Palestrina, just outside Rome. Its design was strongly influenced by the ancient sacred site at Göbekli Tepe, discovered in 1996. The Göbekli Tepe site was originally part of the Brotherhood of the Serpent, which I talk about in Book 1, connected to the priest class that became the Illuminati. This new temple is supposed to be for the one world religion and will begin after the destruction of the Vatican. Notice how the inside looks like a mosque where followers kneel on their mats to worship. Construction is expected to be completed in 2019. Scenario 3. The return of Nibiru. I cover everything you need to know about Nibiru and its inhabitants in my first book, The Truth Chronicles, Book 1, Secrets of the Soul. However, here is a quick background. There is a planet that the ancients called Nibiru. NASA calls it Planet X. It's about 4.5 to 5 times the size of Earth. It belongs to a small solar system whose star is a dwarf star known as Nemesis. All up, the Nemesis system has 7 planets, and Nibiru is its largest and is the only one that's inhabited by beings called the Anunnaki. It has a dusty red atmosphere that creates wings on each side, so the ancients always depicted Nibiru as a winged disk. Nibiru passes the Earth around every 3,500 years or so. Sometimes it comes close, and sometimes it comes really close. The last time it came really close, it stripped the atmosphere of Mars, sending all of the Martian oceans into space. The Anunnaki that were based there had to evacuate and come to Earth. On Earth, it caused the Antarctic ice sheet in the south to break off, causing a global tsunami that the Bible refers to as the Flood of Noah. This flood and ensuing cataclysm was documented by dozens of native peoples all over the world. The Anunnaki monitored this whole episode from a satellite they put into orbit. This satellite is still in orbit and is now known as the Black Knight satellite. As Nibiru approaches Earth, the gravitational forces begin to make their presence known. The much stronger gravity of Nibiru begins to heat up the Earth's core. Between the Earth's core and the outer layer, known as the crust, is an area called the mantle. The mantle is the most solid bulk of Earth's interior. It lies between Earth's dense superheated core and its thin outer layer, the crust. The mantle is about 2,900 kilometres or 1,802 miles thick and makes up a whopping 84% of the Earth's total volume. As Nibiru approaches, the mantle becomes superheated. This increases its viscosity until it becomes liquefied. As this happens, more and more volcanoes begin to become active. Earthquakes start to happen everywhere. Coral in the oceans becomes bleached, and the weather patterns become severe and unpredictable. All of these events are referred to as Earth changes. In April 2016, the Earth changes became undeniable. A video put out by SOTT, or Sign of the Times, details each day of April and what Earth changes happened on each day. When you see this, you will be left in no doubt that the countdown has begun.
Overnight, blizzard-like conditions in Massachusetts. Nearly 1,900 crew working through the night, clearing roads. Treacherous conditions leading to wreck after wreck. In upstate New York, a bus carrying 36 college students flipping over and winding up upside down. Incredibly, there were no serious injuries. And in Connecticut, a tractor trailer sliding and jackknifing on this bridge. New Jersey police releasing this dramatic dashcam video. Trees snapping from heavy winds.
In northern Pakistan, flash floods triggered by heavy rain have killed at least 55 people. An emergency operation's been launched to help thousands of survivors, dozens of whom have been cut off by a landslide in a mountain valley. Some 150 homes are said to have been destroyed.
These earth changes are what I was told about 20 years ago, and they are happening right now. In April 2016, there were daily events for the whole month. These included volcanoes erupting, and even some that have not been active for over 70 years. Earthquakes shook many countries, wild weather was everywhere. It even snowed in Saudi Arabia. And of course, scientists revealed that 90% of the Great Barrier Reef off the coast of Australia is now bleached. Exactly as I spoke about 20 years ago. Back then, I correctly predicted that the signs would become more obvious after 2012, leading up to 2020. But I must admit now that it appears I got that timing slightly wrong. I now have good evidence that it will come much earlier than 2020. Earthquakes, volcanoes and wild weather will only get worse as Nibiru approaches. However, the real showstopper comes next. Meteorites. Nibiru passes through the Kuiper Belt, which is made up of billions of asteroids and chunks of ice. Some of these objects are as large as Pluto, while others are only the size of a pea. It will also pass through the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. As Nibiru passes through the Kuiper Belt and the asteroid belt, it drags millions of rocks and debris with it, trailing millions of kilometres behind it. As it approaches the Earth, many of the asteroids will be pulled toward the Earth due to gravity. So as a final sign of Nibiru's approach, we will witness mass meteorite showers. However, some of these meteors can weigh as much as 30 kilograms or 65 pounds of solid iron. So when they fall from space and hit the ground, they will explode. It would be like being in the middle of a World War I artillery barrage. There could be as much as 1 month of these meteor showers, but they will vary in intensity and in size and duration. Some days will be worse than others. A CIA insider has come forward and revealed that they have been tracking the Nemesis system since the mid-1980s. They now know it will swing by very, very close to Earth this time, within about 50 million kilometres. Now, that's like a stone's throw in astrological terms. This is going to cause a pole shift. Remember how we said the mantle will heat up and become liquid? This will cause the outer crust of the Earth to slip. As Nibiru passes at its closest point, the Earth crust will slip in the direction of Nibiru's gravitational pull. Thus, we can expect the slip will be from the South Pole to the North Pole. So all the landmass of Earth will move at about 1,400 kilometres per second, or 0.86 miles per second, south to north, then abruptly stop. The sudden stop will cause all of the oceans to slosh up, then go back in the opposite direction they came from. That will create a global tsunami of about 700 metres to 3,000 metres high, or 2,296 feet to 9,850 feet high, travelling at 700 metres or half a mile a second. The water will slosh back and forth for several days. In fact, as Nibiru passes, it will stop the Earth's rotation. So one side of the Earth will be in complete darkness for 3 days, and the other side will be in complete sunlight for 3 days. As Nibiru passes, the Earth will begin to rotate again as per normal. Basically, the Earth is going through a very rare process that will see most of the inhabitants of the planet die as a result of massive Earth changes. It is not the first time this has happened, and it will not be the last. The ancients knew that, and they tried to warn us. That is why they built their monuments in massive stone blocks. The reason why so many will die is because they do not want to know. They do not want to listen. They do not want to be part of one of the most exciting times in this planet's history, the Ascension. Humans were given a choice, and they chose fear. We all live in a kleptocracy now. It is a term applied to a government that is in bed with the ruling class, in this case corporations, taking advantage of corruption to extend their personal wealth and political power. Corporate lawyers now write all of our legislation. They write the laws to benefit the corporations, protect them from prosecution, and maximise the ability to make a profit, even at the expense of the people and the environment. This is the world we live in, and most people are happy to turn a blind eye. That is how they got into control in the first place. The world is now so far gone down the corruption path, the self-entitlement mentality path, the selfishness path, the apathy path, and the willful ignorance path that there is no way to bring it back. But not everyone on earth will die. Indeed, for those that do want to know, that do want to listen, that do want to participate, then welcome aboard and keep watching. What the Palladians were telling me that night was, like myself, many others were being asked to not only preserve life, but to build a new way of life and to get the message out to as many people as possible. By following their instructions, I could be assured that the second vision, that of happy people in the hills, would be a reality, your reality, and that of anyone else that cares to join in. In part 3, we'll look at surviving the pole shift. Many people in internet land are saying that the pole shift in Nibiru will happen around September 2017. This date, I found out, is derived from the Bible's book of Revelations. They have shoehorned the Nibiru narrative into the Bible story. I do not put any faith in the Bible verses they're referring to because there is nothing in the Bible that has anything to say about Nibiru. Armageddon, according to the book of Revelation, is the site of gathering of armies for a battle during the end times, variously interpreted as either a literal or symbolic location. The term is also used in a generic sense to refer to any end time or world scenario. The word Armageddon appears only once in the Greek Testament in Revelation 16:16. The word is translated to Greek from Hebrew Harmageddo, meaning a mountain or range of hills. This is often thought to be the location of the ancient fortress city of Megiddo. Megiddo was the location of various ancient battles, including one in the 15th century BC and one in 609 BC. Modern Megiddo is a town approximately 25 miles or 40 kilometres west-southwest of the southern tip of the Sea of Galilee in the Kishon River area in Israel. According to the pre-millennial Christian interpretation, Jesus will return to earth and defeat the Antichrist, or the beast, in the Battle of Armageddon. Then Satan will be put into the bottomless pit or abyss for 1,000 years, known as the millennium. After being released from the abyss, Satan will gather Gog and Magog, whoever they are, from the four corners of the earth. They will encamp surrounding the holy ones and the beloved city, which means Jerusalem. Fire will come down from God out of heaven and devour Gog and Magog. The devil, death, hell, and those not found written in the book of life are then thrown into Gehenna, the lake of burning and brimstone. So, you see, there's no mention of Nibiru, pole shifts or earth changes in Revelations. The Bible code is also a myth, but I won't get into that now. The men that wrote Revelation honestly thought that the end times battle would happen in their own lifetime in a village or near a village called Megiddo. Therefore, any date predictions for the return of Nibiru that are based on the Bible are essentially nonsense, and I just ignore them. While I'm on the subject of Christian beliefs, the rapture was invented by John Nelson Darby in 830 CE. Before it popped into John Darby's head, no one had ever heard of a secret rapture doctrine. In fact, prior to 1830, no church taught it in their creed, catechism, or statement of faith. It does not appear anywhere in the Bible or in any other ancient document. It is a complete fabrication, and you would do well to ignore it. There will be no rapture or no second coming of Jesus anytime soon, that much I can guarantee. I am now basing all my predictions on science and observation. Many people have been taking pictures and video footage of Nibiru. Based on the size it is appearing and based on the amount of earth changes happening right now, I think the asteroids could start falling around December 2016. By January 2017, you'll be able to see Nibiru with the naked eye. By late January to early mid-February, the pole shift will occur. I cannot be any more exact than that at the moment. When I can afford it, I plan to buy a special filter for my camera that will allow me to take video footage of the rising and setting sun. Nibiru is currently behind the sun where I am, so I need a filter to see it. Any footage I get, I'm going to upload it, and if I see nothing, I will still report on that. Do not expect your government to come out and tell everyone about Nibiru until they can't hide it any longer. I actually get why they're keeping it quiet. Imagine the panic, rioting and anarchy there would be if people were told it is the end of civilization as they know it. People would no longer go to work, they would be murdering each other, suiciding, and God knows what else. Then imagine if the whole population on the coast tried to move inland. So for example, the entire population of New York, which is about 8.4 million in 2013, moving inland to Kansas. Kansas does not have the infrastructure, the food, the shelter, the water, or even the toilets to handle that many people. Pretty soon it would collapse into anarchy. For once, I actually agree with the governments about keeping it all quiet. I mean, there's people like me and others telling people, be alert, be aware, but it's only the people that are meant to hear it are going to hear it, so we're not going to create any mass panic, trust me. Just on a final note, I may be completely wrong. I have to admit that, okay? I may be. But this is my truth right here and right now, based on overwhelming evidence I have studied, particularly in the last 2 months of April and May 2016. It may change as more data comes in, and if so, I will adjust my plans accordingly. You should decide for yourself what plans, if any, you want to take. I hope this information has been helpful, and remember, accept it in love, with the wise mind. Do not give in to fear. Fear is for those that ignored the signs and got caught unprepared. Love and light. Still not convinced? Not sure what all the fuss is about? Or maybe you think this Nibiru stuff is all a bunch of male bovine excrement. Well, stick around for another 12 minutes or so, and I will show you some of the most compelling evidence I have come across so far. Enjoy.